Are you ready to rock big savings? Rakuten's Big Give Week is a festival of savings with 15% cash back at hundreds of stores. We're talking 15% cash back at Expedia, Ray-Ban, Stanley, and more. Shoppers in the know get the best savings when they use Rakuten. They shop the brands they love and earn cash back on top of deals. Big Give Week is only once a year, and the cashback rates are through the roof. I'll be shopping for some new beauty products and home essentials while getting 15% cash back on it all. I get my cash back sent directly to my PayPal, and it feels so good whenever I see it hit my account. Join for free today and get a $20 welcome bonus. Hurry! Big Give Week ends May 12th, and there won't be an encore. Go to Rakuten.com or download the Rakuten app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten.com.
Edit audio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, all the questions you have about therapy, but we're afraid to ask. Hey, everybody. All right. This episode, it's kind of like those after-school specials from the 80s where like the very special episode from your favorite sitcom, you know, like the one where like Jenny gets pregnant and the family has to deal with it. All right. It's not quite like that. But what it is this. We have got a fabulous, fun, smart therapist named Melissa, and she has agreed to come on and answer all the questions that you are scared to ask, or maybe not sure how to even ask about the therapy process. Because very often, just finding a therapist can be so daunting that you just never do it, despite wanting or needing to. So we did a call out for your questions. Now we've got Melissa, who is here, and we're also having some cocktails today, folks, because we're in person. And she's going to answer these questions, and we got a lot of them. So I think we should we get right to it?
Yeah.
Are you scared, Melissa?
I'm terrified. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. See, like this is your therapist and you admitted it. That's great.
Yeah.
Before we get to the questions, why don't you just give a quick, like who you are and that kind of thing?
Sure. My name's Melissa Jardin. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have an office in Union Square in Manhattan, and I also do virtual work. I specialize in grief and loss, anxiety issues, and relationship issues, especially around communication.
That was like so well put.
Yeah.
We're going to start with an easy question. Okay. This is the thing that people say the most. We even did a whole episode about a person wanting to find therapists. How do I find a therapist?
Well, people actually ask me a lot, and I always help people. Jeff says it should be my side hustle, but it's unethical for me to charge people to find a therapist for them.
You're like, easy, it's me.
Yeah. I know it's hard, and I know like, you don't totally know what to look for. So there's two sites that I like to use a lot. I actually am advertised on both of them. One is zencare.co. Both of these sites have a lot of filters. Mm-hmm. So if you have insurance, you could put that. If you're looking for a certain area, and it's like United States. So
yeah.
The thing I like about ZenCare is people post videos, like when you sign up, like they come to your office and take a video of you and you talk for like 2 minutes so people can kind of get a vibe of how you talk, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And then Psychology Today is a little more simple, but you want to filter if you're really coming for a specific reason, like, I don't know, depression or eating disorder or whatever, you can use the filter, to hit those things. And I would also say that you just want to make sure that they address that. It's okay if they address other things too.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have all the things they address.
So like one of my kids wanted to start therapy recently. And because the last time I saw you, you had mentioned you were on Psychology Today. I thought it was some like bullshit website. Like I didn't realize it was like a legit thing.
Yeah.
And I used it. And what I thought was really cool about it is they had that like 15-minute introductory call. And it was like I was able to like put, I want them to be a network, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, most therapists will offer like a 15 to 20 minute consultation. You just get on the phone, you find out kind of what you're going to therapy for. They can ask any questions that they have, and then we talk about if scheduling is going to work. And then I can also tell if I'm going to be able to help them.
Yeah. how do you know what to ask? Like I make an appointment with you. What am I even saying? Like, am I just trying to like see if I like you? Like,
Sure.
It's like shopping for a car, or like
A little bit.
how do you do this? Because like you're the expert, I'm not.
Yeah. So people are nervous when they call, and I just say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about why you're coming? And they'll, sometimes give really brief stuff, sometimes a little bit longer. I'll ask a couple questions. I'll ask if they've been in therapy before. I'll ask them if they have any questions about me. And if they don't, then I'll just tell them a little bit about how I work, the length of a session, the fee. We can do in person or virtual, kind of give them a structure. And if they really don't have any questions, they just want to come in, then, I tell them, if you come up with any, you can message me. You can ask anytime.
I have so many questions already.
I have like 100 questions in front of me, but I'm also just like, have you ever rejected anybody or been like, I don't know that I want to work with this person? Or does that happen?
It doesn't happen that often, but there are a couple areas that I actively choose not to work in. And I'm not like very versed in those, those pockets. And I refer them out, and I'm very clear. I want you to have the best help.
Yeah.
And this is really not in my wheelhouse at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good that you do that, because like there's nothing worse than the first time you got to like be like, so my mom, when I was 12, and you have like to go through, and like, I don't like to have to do that. Like, I think I'll stay with Patricia for as long as she'll have me, because I can't go through that story again. Like, I don't want to have to, I don't have to ramp back up. Like, I'm just like, be with me here, people. I got this trauma, get on board.
Well, I will say that, if you ever had to switch, sometimes people have to switch because their therapist moves or retires or stops or whatever the reason, that, you can say, I don't want to like go through this long ass family history. I don't want to start that way. Say what you want. I don't know how other therapists are, but I'm like super flexible.
So I could be like, I just want to jump right in here.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I do that mostly with people. And then as it feels relevant, we'll go back.
Yeah. You're like just itching to be like, tell me about your mother. Right?
Nah, but I'm going to find out eventually. But when it feels like natural progress, I don't think it serves anyone to have to just do 2 sessions of like grinding through the generational tree,
Yeah.
Like, I want to establish rapport. I want you to feel safe. You're coming in for something that's happening right now. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And then we can figure out, where does this come from?
Right.
Because you're coming in because you have something on your, your heart or your mind that feels pressing. You got through that door. That's the hardest part.
Really is. I feel like the 2 hardest parts are saying you're going to do it. Steph made me in an episode last summer. Saying you're going to do it, and then finding the person. I think those are the 2 biggest barriers.
I think finding a person and then going through with it.
Showing up.
Yeah. I think another trap is like shopping around too much.
Yeah. Right?
You don't need a perfect person. You need a good enough therapist. You
Yeah.
need somebody who is listening to you, who you feel like, you can listen to the way that they talk and not get annoyed.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. But it doesn't have to be miracle magic. You're kind of, what you end up doing is like just avoiding.
Yeah.
Right. And so even if someone's not going to choose me, I do advise them to try to like just pick someone and try it out.
Yeah.
And if they're not the right fit, you can find somebody else.
And what do you think? How long is giving it a shot?
I mean,
Like 3 sessions, 5 sessions? When are you like, this is not a fit?
I feel like you kind of know pretty early.
Yeah.
I'm a therapist. I've been in therapy myself, but I went in with somebody new as them being my therapist, and I was like, absolutely not. And I didn't go back,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know the process and I'm open-minded, but it just was not happening. And so listen to that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the other part. If people haven't been in therapy, they don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't also know that they can ask for what they want. I tell all my clients, I'm like, listen, this work is for you. So if there's something that you are liking, not liking, you feel like I'm not getting, you want more of, you don't want to talk about, like, just tell me. Because
Like a massage, a little harder, softer.
I don't know how you're feeling unless you tell me. And if you feel like I'm missing something and you're sitting on that, that's not good. You're never going to hurt my feelings ever.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I'm always afraid of that. I'm deeply afraid of that.
Oh, people get mad at me. Like,
It just rolls right off your back?
yeah.
Wow.
It's not really about me.
Yeah.
I one time told my therapist that she can't compliment me because she like complimented something I was wearing, like when I went into the office. And I was like, thank you so much. And then I put my coat up that she complimented. I sat down like in our session in the chairs. And I was like, just so you know, when you compliment me, it makes me not trust you. So like if in the future, like if you could not compliment me, I would really appreciate it because it actually like does like a thing now where I'm thinking that you're not like a reliable
because
source.
You don't believe in the compliment or because you're like,
just like a bunch. I mean, I'm just like fucked up and I'm like, I think like, I'm like questioning.
I mean, that's very layered.
Why are you complimenting me? Like, what did you mean by that? Like, was it a genuine compliment? And then did you have like some sort of purpose for why you were telling me that? Like, are you manipulating me?
Are you trying to connect with me in a fake way?
Yeah. Like so many things. But I was like very direct about it. And I always think about that because she was like, oh, of course. I'm so sorry if that was crossing a line for you. Like, do you want to carry on with today's session? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And we talked about something completely different. Never brought it up again. She's totally fine. She's never complimented me. I've been with her for like 8 years after that.
That's amazing.
I always think about it because I'm like, damn, like I fucking set that boundary.
Meanwhile, my therapist texted me and was like, so when are you on Law and Order? And then texted me after and was like, you were so great. I had the popcorn out.
You were so great. We watched it.
Thank you. But it was like hilarious. And then it was the first couple of minutes, like I kept trying to move on of our session today, which I thought was hilarious.
But that's the cool thing is I'm like, I feel like if you haven't been in therapy before or you've only been with one therapist, like talking to you about your therapist, seeing my partner with their therapist, like my relationship with my therapist, they're so different from each other. And so I think just like giving, I mean, now I'm like giving advice, but I'm like, that's advice to myself too. Like just recognizing that like people do therapy in a bunch of different ways and like ask for what you want.
Yeah.
Ever wish your dog could join in on those honest, real-life talks about self-care and wellness? Just like finding the right boundaries or a new apartment, giving your pup the best food is a big part of caring for your family. Ollie delivers fresh, gently cooked meals made in U.S. kitchens with high-quality, human-grade ingredients. No fillers, no preservatives, just real food. With 5 protein-first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes or fresh turkey with blueberries, your dog gets clean nutrition and flavors they'll love. Fill out Ollie's quick quiz to get a meal plan tailored to your dog's needs. Dogs deserve the best, and that means fresh, healthy food. Head to ollie.com/freshpup, tell them all about your dog, and use code FRESHPUP to get 60% off your welcome kit when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a clean bowl guarantee on the first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/freshpup and enter code FRESHPUP to get 60% off your first box.
Are you feeling stuck in your career or lacking employment at the moment? Experiencing symptoms of job dissatisfaction? You might be suffering from a common condition known as career stagnation. But don't worry, there's a solution. Monster.com. Monster.com offers a comprehensive suite of career-boosting tools designed just for you. Our free resume review and AI interview prep tool will help you stand out from the crowd. Need more guidance? Dive into our career advice articles for expert tips and insights. And don't forget to check out our salary tools to ensure you're getting paid what you're worth. Side effects may include a new job, increased confidence, and a brighter future. Consult Monster.com today and take the first step towards your new career. Ready for your next job opportunity? Visit Monster.com now.
Okay, this is my question. I have been looking for a couples therapist. I went on a website that I will not name, but it was not one of the 2 that you recommended, so maybe I'll go to those. And I'm just trying to find someone that could work with a queer couple, is in New York, takes in person. But the question is, on this website, like in Canada, I'm Canadian, this is also kind of part of it. There are psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists, and social workers. And I know the distinction between those things. Here, there is a psychologist, psychiatrist, NP, MPS, LMHC, MS, MED, LMSW, LCSW, PsyD. The fuck is that?
A lot. Also, social workers practice therapy here.
Yeah.
I'm from California, and in California, social workers do social work and therapists do therapy. But here, social work...
As in New York, you mean?
Yeah, is like the main degree that people, or license that people get.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think this might also be a thing. It's like state governed. And so there's like maybe private licenses or like, I just don't understand how that works. But I'm just trying to be like Like in Canada, if you need a drug, you go to a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's true here.
Yeah, people also go to a psychologist and then a doctor, like just their MD. So what are those?
Welcome to the US.
Which ones do I care about?
You want a therapist, LMFT, you can do a mental health counselor or a social worker.
And all of those people went to school.
Everyone went to school.
And they all have a license.
Yes. It will say licensed. Well, LML is licensed marriage and family therapist.
Now, while we're on this, though, so we got this whole new thing, and I don't know if this is in Canada or in Europe, but like now you've got life coaches. And those people are like, maybe they have a certificate, maybe they don't. And there's no knock on life coaches, but I'm just saying that's a different thing, right? But they might talk therapy speak, but they're not accredited in therapy, correct?
They're not licensed.
Okay,
no.
that's what I was trying to say. But you said it way better and simpler and faster. Thank you.
I guess like my thing, I want someone who focuses specifically. I also have like diagnosed mental disorders, and so does my partner.
Well,
so
that's
it's
where
like,
the filter's going to come in.
I need a person that like, I don't, this sounds bad.
No, it doesn't.
I feel like I'm like knocking people, but I'm just like, I don't want to have to explain what OCD is to someone.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You go to the filter and you type like ADHD. You can like put all those indicators in, and then that person will come up.
That's true.
The other thing is that I think most people are going to know what OCD is, but I would want to know how that impacts you. So there is a bit of explaining.
Yeah.
Because, different things hit people differently.
All right, we have another question. What if I found one and they stink and I want to break up with them? And then there's somebody has like a subcategory here. So we'll do both. What if it's an established long-term therapy sitch? Same rules, different approach. Ooh. So you want to dump somebody new, you want to dump somebody old. I shouldn't say dump, but you want to break up.
It's kind of like regular breakups. You just tell them.
But what is it? What if it's uncomfortable? I had one where I broke up and it was uncomfortable.
Comfortable.
I guess I have some idea in my head that a therapist, and I think this is incredibly unfair, but a therapist is a person who should be used to a breakup and should because I had one where the person made me feel really bad. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like, I think maybe I wasn't being honest. Like, I think I was doing like, it's not you, it's me kind of vibes, because I really wasn't gelling with them. And then she was kind of like a little defensive and like, well, we're not done here. And I was like, but I'm feeling good. And when I left, I felt really shitty for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry that happened.
It was a while ago.
I know, but like,
I'm fine now.
I hear things like that where a therapist has like, a kind of response that is just inappropriate. And listen, sometimes people just stop coming or they just send me a message. It bums me out because I want to like have a closure session so we can talk about, if there was something that you didn't like or that's why you're leaving, let's talk about it. So I can help you maybe figure out how to name that sooner with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. Or I can find you a referral. Like you don't need to have it from me, but I can help you if you want. Like whatever, what kept you from talking about it or maybe I can apologize or, I didn't know that, whatever. But it's not me being upset with them. I mean, maybe I'm disappointed that this happened, Do
you have feelings sometimes? Like if someone leaves before you think they're ready, like incomplete feelings? Like, because you guys are people too, for God's sakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when the client leaves, like, I miss them,
That's nice to hear.
I mean, I'm just like this one, like, hour a week in their life, but, like, I get to, like, experience, like, so much of them.
And you know so much about them.
And I really care, and I'm so, like, invested in the way of, like, hopefulness, and, like, and belief. That they can get to where they want to go. And so, when people leave, I think it's ideal and as a practice as a human to say it. It's really uncomfortable for the client to do that. They're afraid to like you to be mad at them. They're afraid they're going to get in trouble, whatever comes up for them. But it feels clean.
Yeah.
It just feels cleaner. And hopefully your therapist isn't a dick and can just be like, okay. And I have had people who wanted to like leave and I didn't think it was time.
Yeah.
And so I named that. I said, I'm not trying to keep you here, but I noticed that you've really been bringing in a lot more lately. And so it's interesting that now is the time you want to go. Like, what do you think about that? And most of the time,
I feel like it'd be a drinking game for how often therapists say, it's interesting that.
yeah.
It's such a particular word choice to therapy.
And if somebody was like, I feel like we'd like gotten through the hurdle, I'd be like, all right, let's talk about like how you feel ready. Like, let's talk about what resources you have and what you've taken on. And then I'm sad and I see them go and that's it. And they're always welcome to come back. And once in a while they do. And that's the most fun because I get to catch up on their lives and, see where they're at now. But if I bring that up and I'm like, well, kind of seems like there's a lot here, a lot of times they end up staying. And then we really get to that next part that I think is like a subconscious avoiding.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Do you think that there's a possibility for that breakup to be more of a conversation? Like, could I go to my therapist and be like, I feel like we're done here, but like, I want to know how you feel, blah, blah, blah. Or do you feel like that's awkward?
I mean, people ask me what I think and I'll tell them. I'll ask them why they think they're done. And then depending on like what's been going on and what we've been talking about, I'll say what I think either way. And they don't have to stay. I'm not trying to keep you, but I think it's a disservice if I feel like they're just like getting to the meat, and then they want to leave. And, or people try to dip out at those points. And I'm like, again, isn't that interesting? that when we start to get to the juicy stuff, like,
yeah,
it's like, I'm good.
It's such a one-sided relationship in some ways, or at least it feels that way to me. Sharing all these vulnerable things and like you don't even know anything about them as a general rule. And it's just so, I just find it very weird. Like it's good. I think it's important. I believe in therapy, but that inequity or that imbalance or however you want to describe it, for me makes me feel weird.
It's so interesting because I feel the opposite.
Really?
I'm like, well, I pay you to do a service.
You are so like...
You're a little toughie.
I know.
I love my therapist, but I'm like, I am paying you to do this. So like...
It gets very mixed up for me because I'm talking about... I said things to her that I hadn't said to anybody.
Same.
It was really hard. That was like a very big thing for me to get over that. And so I can't make it be a transactional thing.
It's not that it's transactional.
I'm not saying you're doing that. But I'm just saying the emotions make it weird for me.
I feel emotionally weird, but I guess I feel like at the end of the day, she owns a business and she is telling me...
Your way's healthier. I'm just saying I'm weird and I'm like...
weird. One is healthier than the other. I feel like they're both normal. It's just interesting to me that we're like pretty similar people, but to you that makes it harder and to me that makes it easier.
I wonder about like the way that
our parents raised us.
No, that like that.
Let's talk about your mom, Robin.
That feeling of like it's almost like of it's vulnerability for sure, but I'm kind of feeling like maybe like burdening her and and so this way of like wanting to take care of her.
Oh yeah,
right. And so that's coming up, but that's also a good reason to not know about your therapist
for sure. But I also would probably be like, oh, you're broken, you can't fix me. Like it's good I don't know because it's like I would make weird assumptions about that.
I found out my therapist had kids like 3 years into seeing her. Immediately my thought was like, oh my God, I talk shit about my parents and parenting all the time.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I talk about like blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh my God, no. And for like months and still like 6 years later, I'm thinking about when I talk about things about like families and stuff, like I know she has children. And so now when I like talk shit about my mom, I'm like, and I know you're a mother, but like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't want to have to do that.
There are things that I do share, but they're not personal at all.
Yeah.
Like I'll share that I worked with children for 20 years before I did this because it's really applicable when we're talking about their children.
Right.
Or why I know so much about that.
Yeah.
And, people sometimes are curious, but nobody really asks that much. And then, there has been a time when somebody asked and, they were talking about their children and they just wanted to know if I had children. And, I just said, well, what would it mean if I did? And what would it mean if I didn't? And then they're like,
so good, by the way. What a good deflection.
Well, it's the important information, right?
Yeah,
like, what are they projecting?
Yeah. Oh.
And am I only able to help you if I do have children?
Oh.
And this is for when you're looking for a therapist. You do not have to have someone that has had the same experience as you. If you are struggling, I'm just going to keep with the kids here. If you're a struggling mother, you do not have to have a mother therapist. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes their shit will get put into your shit. I can help you without having the same experience. You know why? Because I believe you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because I can,
that's so nice.
And I can understand.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you need. You need someone, you need to feel believed. You need to feel heard. And you need them to understand.
I'm going to interject
so nice.
a question that's from Mary that she has often said about therapy over the years. She doesn't go as far to say therapy is hooey, but she's a little bit like, just sort of like, I don't understand how it helps. And she'll say something like, I could be going in there and just like making shit up, or my point of view could be so skewed, or I could be a victim. And I was like, they're going to see patterns and things in there, but I feel like I don't know that I have a great answer for it. So like, how do you, someone says that to you because you just said, I believe you. But what if it's a person who's like, takes situations and maybe it's not necessarily how it happened and makes themselves the victim or makes themselves the hero, or like,
well, I mean, you kind of
can
see that happening over and over. You know, if somebody's doing that, then that's sort of every situation.
Right.
Right. And then it's, you know, that makes it like curious. Like, okay. Well,
so that's when you start going, it's interesting.
Most people aren't just one way, right? Like we have a lot of different relationships and we, you know, maybe you're confident over here and not over here, right? It's like you're great at your job and you suck at dating, like whatever. And so I'm also listening to the subtext. Right. Also, how do
you hear that, Mary?
Also, how do they show up with me? And I'm a very direct therapist, and I do make a lot of inferences, and I'm clear about that. Like I'm like, I don't know, but what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking or what seems to stand out to me is this. The thing about that is maybe I'm right, and they're like, yes, and maybe I'm wrong, and they're like, no, that's not it. I was like, what does it seem more? What do you think it's more like? And then they get to it. So I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I have to be kind and I have to be on their side. Like I want to see them.
Yeah.
And I want them to see themselves. And people can't always see themselves. So I have to reflect that.
Better listen to that,
beautiful.
Mary. I know. I'm like,
damn.
I'm like, if Patricia ever retires, ding dong. Hi, Melissa. All right, so let's move on to another question that we had. How often do therapists, and I understand that we're putting you in the position to answer the global we of therapy, and they're not a monolith. So, but like, let's, how often do therapists think about their clients outside of their sessions? As in, when you go home from work this is such an oddly specific question. I love it. As in, when you go home from work for the day and you're making dinner and something reminds you of a client, etc., do you ponder on their situations or reflect on your sessions with them?
Sometimes, not as much as I think you would think.
Yeah. I mean, you must have to like close the door on the day, right? Because it would be like...
So I see people back to back. And when I was fully in person, I had a person in the office and someone in the waiting room. And then the person comes out, they had been crying. The person comes in and they were like, do you need a minute? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Like... It's just a practice of like really switching gears and really being present. And yes, there are sessions and there are moments that really are like a lot.
Yeah.
And like, I do think about them. I try to set them down if it's not fruitful, but sometimes I'm thinking it through and like, what do I think this requires? And, or how do we talk about it? But it's not a ton of time.
So it's more when you're thinking about it, it's more like, how can I help this person or these people? Less like, oh, that reminds me of Robin.
Well, I don't forget they exist,
right?
But, sometimes it'll be like the time next week. And I'm like, man, that week went fast. You're here again. Hi.
Yeah.
And then other times like people pop into my head, of course. But I think sort of a little bit of what that question is like, how impactful is it? Like, am I stressed out all the time? Because people are just bringing it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the next question. How do you recover from a particularly emotional session? Like if somebody's like in deep trauma and like, cause you said you just have to be kind. Like there's connections that are formed. It has to, I would imagine, impact you.
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm a very like like I'm a very expressive therapist. We laugh in sessions. If they're sharing something that's really painful and they're crying, water will just come out of my face. Like,
really?
Yeah. And I'm not like
I
sobbing.
love that though. I love that.
I'm not sobbing. And once in a while they're not crying, but I do. And I can see their surprise. And they're like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "Well, I have tears." I'm like, "You just shared something so deep." And they're, but they're not connected to it. Right. Like,
right.
But I can feel it for them.
Sure.
Oh my
So there's like,
oh, that's so lovely.
I was just going to say that happened to me. My therapist started crying and I was like, "Are you crying?" And she was like, "Yeah, like what you said, like really like impacted me, like blah, blah, blah." And it was sort of what you had just earlier said about the mirror. Like I was like, oh, that is really sad. Like, why am I like sort of brushing that off and like making it like
just cut off?
Whatever. Like,
Yeah.
It's something that happened to me and blah, blah, blah. Like, it is sad and I deserve to like feel that it's sad.
Yeah.
And recognize that. And I don't know if I've ever felt that, but it was for sure a moment I remember exactly how I talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, have worked since then to be like, okay, I can't talk about it in that way. Like, that's not helpful for me to be like completely disconnected from it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like really beautiful.
Yeah. Is it a rumor that like all therapists have a therapist and that sometimes they talk about patients in order to, or do you just
Not to your therapist unless like you're having some like problem. But if you go to another therapist to talk about clients, it's called consultation.
Okay.
Or it's called supervision. It depends on where you're from.
Okay.
And that's perfectly legal. And that's like I'm paying you to be my supervisor.
Right.
Do you have to do that or it's a choice?
No, you don't have to do that.
Oh.
People want help on their cases and need a place to process it.
So in essence, the answer is that it's a practice for you and you have boundaries and you understand how to come in and out of it. Like you're feeling it, but you're not taking it on. Like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I practice setting it down. Right. So you can't really control when things pop up. And I actually talk a lot about this with clients about getting triggered or, critical thoughts. It's like, okay, well, the first thing you have to do is notice it.
Sure.
Right. And if you notice it, now you have a choice. If you don't notice, so you spent 3 hours just beating yourself up. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Right. So just notice and say, oh, there it is again. And then do what you can to set it down. It's going to come back. It will be right back to you as fast as it can, but you can set it down again. Right. It's like, you just keep setting it down and it becomes a practice and it gets easier and easier. And it's really about being mindful and staying in the present moment.
Yeah.
Because thinking about these things, if I'm like obsessing about a session, sometimes I make a mistake and I have to deal with that, and I'm like, fuck, like, and I just feel so guilty. Right. But then I also I can't just have that take over my whole life because there's nothing I can do about it in this moment.
Right.
And so I can be in suffering or I can deal with it later when I'm in the room. And also, it's not even that it was that injurious. It was that I felt
you just feel bad.
I felt like I made a mistake. I didn't say it perfectly. Right. So it's more about my shit.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, that's like a CBT technique. Like, notice the thought passing. And I'm like, oh, I need to do.
I hear like a lot of mindfulness in this.
Set it down. I like, though.
I know.
I went to
love it.
like a holistic studies program.
Oh.
So I did somatic psychotherapy, which is like mind and body connection. So there's a lot of like, we experience things in our bodies.
Yeah.
And then
things get
and
stuck.
then we don't notice them so much because our thoughts get really loud because our brains are trying to make sense of these things. And so that's why we come up with all these narratives that aren't really true.
We're so good at that as a people of making up stories. And they feel so real.
Yeah.
They feel so real.
Well, that's like a lot of PTSD. It's a lot of trauma. Like this feels like a very dangerous situation because your body is responding. I'm simplifying here, but if you take a step back and sort of see what's happening, this is not that back there in the past.
So we had this other question where a person said that their therapist fell asleep twice.
Oh my God.
I had a therapist who fell asleep during our session more than once. When I confronted her on it, she said she was very busy, didn't get much sleep, and I would have to understand that she would occasionally drift off. Soon after, I left her, but I wish I had confronted her on the response, and I wonder if, in a way, I was supposed to confront her. And I guess that also means that I'm thinking it was my fault.
I mean, that's just the sign of a bad therapist, right?
You leave immediately.
Yeah. Like, that's awful.
It's so awful. I'm so sorry that happened. Like, I can't even believe that it was.
Is there even an excuse for it to happen once?
Unless you have a huge apology and an excuse of I just started a medication today. I didn't realize it was going to make me so sleepy. I'll make sure I never do that again. I'm so sorry. Please do not pay for this session. You make amends and you never do it again. But the fact that they were defensive and then did it again, people come in with vulnerability and you are in the position of power.
That's it. And that's the thing I think I was trying to express earlier when I was saying imbalance, is there is a position of power. And I can imagine being that person, right? I just was sitting there telling my life and being vulnerable, and the person sleeping, and then they made me feel bad. And then we're the only two people in this relationship. And I could see how I would get
gaslight yourself.
Yeah. I could see how I might go down a road and be
maybe
feeling weird.
Yeah. Or maybe I shouldn't be mad, or it's my fault because I was boring, or whatever. That's the thing. It's you get so triggered and then they're defensive. I hear some things from people sometimes, and they've waited so long to go back to therapy because their experience was so bad.
Yeah.
And I just want to hug them. I'm I'm so sorry that you had that experience, because it's so vulnerable. It's so hard to get in the door. And then to have that, and you think that that's what it is.
Well, that's the thing is just like there's really good workers and there's some people who phone it in, that has to be true across therapists. Not everybody is going to be exceptional.
No.
Should she have fought back? Or, I mean, she was probably so like that. It's that moment of when someone does something you're not expecting.
Yeah. I mean, I think the question I would have is what are you hoping for?
That's so healthy and healed. I would want the confrontation.
Sure.
I just want to speak my piece.
But then if that's what you're hoping for.
That was what I'm hoping for.
They're asking the question of should they have?
Right.
And it's
Don't make it
if
about
you wanted that, you probably would have. And you did the thing that you needed to do, which was leave.
Right.
And you did confront them, and they were defensive and put it back on you. And so if you want to fight back, and I use this phrase a lot with people. It's what are you hoping for? What are you hoping for by doing that?
First of all, I think that's fucking fantastic. But I also think that's something I could ask myself a lot when I'm in a place where I'm should I do something or shouldn't I? What am I hoping for?
Yeah.
I sometimes can get very righteous. And in this situation, I think I would feel very wronged, and I would want to get that off my chest.
Yeah.
But is that helpful, I guess?
And also it matters on the situation. What is that therapist showing you right now? You did say something, and she responded like this. What is she showing you? That
she's not good.
She's not gonna take in what you're saying and own her shit. She already defended it. Yeah. So you can fight her.
Yeah.
And try to get her there, but she's already made it clear that she's not going to go there.
Yeah.
Also, are you fighting to feel righteous and clear the slate, or are you fighting for an apology?
You can be righteous and walk the fuck out.
Because
you can
valid. Just be this wasn't right and I don't feel right about it, and bye. But if you're hoping for an apology,
yeah, I mean, I don't want to turn this into therapy for Robin, but I can say that I personally want people to see the thing they did and say sorry for it. But you're absolutely right that they have already
mm-hmm.
You've given me advice before that has been they're never going to see it the way you see it. So.
Yeah, no, I know. I can give that advice.
But there's also a difference of when you're the client in the room, you don't always show up exactly who you are. You show up as parts of yourself at different times, because you're still learning to trust the therapist. You're still learning about the work.
Yeah.
You're still learning about yourself and the parts you don't recognize. But the therapist should be I am who I am. I'm very clear about that. All these different things. I am here with you. You're not going to hurt my feelings. We could take as long or as short of time as you need to get there. But you know what I mean? I laugh. I cry. I'm very expressive. I make a ton of weird analogies.
I love a weird analogy.
Always. I'm why do I even think of these things? But they work mostly. And I think it just puts people at ease because I'm not stuffy. I'm not do. And I repeat myself a lot because it's hard to take stuff in and digest it. And, I use a lot of the same phrases. I was working with a couple, and this was a long time ago, and one of them let it slip that the other one did an impression of me. And I was like, I never turned redder. And I was like, what? And then me and this person were like, well, you have to do it now. Yeah. And he was like, no. And I'm like, no, you do. And then she was like, no, you do. And then so they did the impression.
Spot on.
So embarrassing.
Did it make you mad or anything, or you were fine?
I wasn't mad. I just felt so visible. And like, I turned bright. I'm probably red right now. But it also was like, oh, well, they're listening,
Yeah. That's good.
And it's also a way that they get to join,
Yeah, it's
like,
cute.
Especially with couples, it's like, maybe they both hate you together, or maybe they make fun of you together. It's a way of connecting.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't matter if they're talking shit about me or obviously they're like being playful and it's fine.
That's a win.
I was just like, oh my God, I do sound like that.
All right, here's another question.
I think I'm quite self-aware and have relatively little trauma to process. Would therapy be of any use to me, or would it be a waste of money?
What a life.
I know, right? Good for you. By the way, good for you,
Yeah.
whoever asked this question.
Yeah. I don't think you have to have a ton of trauma to come to therapy. Like sometimes you're just stuck or you don't know what you want. Those kinds of things. I think a question I ask kind of everybody in some version or another is like, well, what do you want? What do you want next? And you don't have to have the answer. You just have to ask the question, because if you ask the question, then there's room for the answer to come. But if you don't ask yourself, you're never going to figure it out. I'm not going to tell you what you want unless you've said it and don't recognize it. And then I'll be like, it sounds like you kind of want this, But
You kind of keep saying this.
Yeah. You don't have to have trauma to not know what you want. Or maybe you're like in a shitty relationship, or maybe you really want a relationship and you don't know how to do it. Or you want to leave a job that's toxic and you don't know how. There's so many things.
And it doesn't have to be forever.
No.
Like it can be you're coming in for a short term. What do you think about like somebody in like that case? Because I think I always have this vision of it's every Thursday. Like, what do you think about like a bi-weekly? Or do you feel like that can just be like you're not going to be able to get in there because too much time happens between?
If I'm just starting with someone, this is me personally, therapists can choose what they want to do. I need to start weekly with you. Otherwise, it takes way too long to get to know you, and we're just doing catch up.
Right.
We're just doing check-ins for most of the time. We're not able to build a rapport. We're not able to get in there. And then when it feels appropriate, I do see some people every other week. I see a couple, like very few, like once a month. They could not see me and they'd be fine, but they like it. They like to have that space to like, run through things and check in. And, there's also this part, this is a little bit of a segue, but there's this part about like, this school of thought about like holding on to clients and letting them go, or should you tell them to stop coming when you feel like they're done? I'm not really that person, because I think that
You let them stay forever if they want to keep coming.
Yeah. Only because
Barbara Streisand, she's been in therapy her whole life.
Yeah. Nobody,
Me too.
Usually if people are staying and they've done most of the stuff, they're coming every other week or once a month.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a safe place for them. It's a place that belongs to them. They feel secure knowing that if something happened, they don't have to get up the nerve to reach out and see if I have availability. Like, I'm there for them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's valuable.
Yeah.
It is valuable. That's like me. I go to therapy like once a month sometimes. And then when shit gets bad or I feel like I need it more, then I go sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes once a week, and I ramp it up or ramp it down. But I think
But the door is still open.
the door is open. And also sometimes I feel like therapy is like going to the gym for me, where I'm like, well, this is like one of the few things I have for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, even if I'm not really talking, like sometimes I go to therapy and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Like, I'm just talking about my week or something that like isn't like a huge thing, but it still helps. And it helps me like connect the patterns for myself and think about things. And at the end of the day, it's an hour where I get to just be with myself. So that's nice.
I tell people that, like, just because we got over the biggest hurdle here, the work doesn't have to be done because there's so many other things that you don't get to because this was so loud.
Yeah.
Right. So like maybe we get to get down on a couple different layers of that onion. Right. And you get to address things that you never had time to think about because there was this crisis happening.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, like a person is contemplating or thinking about it, or they're coming up with excuses like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and whatever. What do you say to that person? Like, I don't want to be like pitch therapy, Melissa, but like, it's your life's work. You believe in it and you're obviously good at it because you've said like 17 things that Steph and I are like, oh, like, so like, what do you say to somebody?
Just say yes to yourself.
Shut up.
Wow. Goodbye.
That's what a lovely, like, that's the most lovely way to end this. That's beautiful. I tell people, Melissa, because while Steph and I are just going to be sitting here, like, say yes to yourself.
Wow.
Tell people like where they could find you if they wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah. So, my name is Melissa Jardin, Jardin. I have a website, melissajardintherapy.com. And my email is melissa@melissajardintherapy.com. You can also find me on zencare.co. You can watch that video that I love so much. I was sweating the whole time. And you can find me on Psychology Today. If you're interested, we can schedule a consultation and see if it's a good fit. And yeah, take it from there.
Incredible.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. And I hope that we demystified therapy just a little bit more for you. And to Melissa's point, go out there and get that help. And thank you to you, Melissa, for being our therapist of the day, ready and willing to tackle all the issues. And I think we got a little therapy in here today.
Oh my God, yeah. So much.
I think we might have tried to get in some free therapy.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. This was so lovely.
Thank you.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers. Beep. I love that we did a therapy podcast and had cocktails. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but like if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.